In this business, you have to be persistent. That turns some people off, but you have to be persistent. There's a lot of recruiters that just post something and pray the right person comes along. That doesn't happen. The best people aren't looking at the job boards or answering LinkedIn posts. They're busy doing their thing, and you really have to shake the tree.
Welcome back to Talent Hunters, powered by MRI Network, where each week we talk with the world's top talent strategists and executive recruiters. If you want to build talented teams that drive your company to big goals and big growth, then this podcast is for you. And now, let's join the conversation with today's episode of Talent Hunters.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Vince Holt with the Talent Hunters. Today we have Karel Lukas, managing partner of the Trevi Group, located in the heart of this country, Franklin, Tennessee. Thank you for being here, Karel.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Vince. It's great to see you again.
Thank you for that. So to get this thing kicked off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and really what got you to where you are today?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Just backstory, real quick backstory. When I graduated, I went to Bell Labs, and I was amongst all these brilliant people, and I had to pinch myself every other day because I couldn't believe I was in Bell Labs in New Jersey, and early in my career. And I was doing the engineering thing. I was a system engineer, and one thing led to another, and they put me in front of customers, and that went well. One thing led to another. They put me into management. That went well. One thing led to another. They sent me to Europe for 7 years. I was in Italy for 5 years, Switzerland for 2 years, now handling technical projects and business development. And when it was time to come back, I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial. So I left the company and joined some very progressive firms, and had great times leading teams, technical teams of brilliant engineers and architects, all dealing with data center security, networking, advanced networking. And then I joined a startup, and they ran out of cash. That happens. And at that point, I thought, I love building things. What do I want to do? And I also thought about how I loved helping people and solving problems as an engineer. Even when they put me in sales, I didn't think of myself as a sales guy. I thought of myself as a problem solver. So one of the things that I picked up along the way, because I'd hired and fired hundreds of people, was this unique thing of hiring the right people and the value of doing that. And along the way, I ran into 2 recruiters that really impressed me. And I thought, that's something I could do. I love what they were doing. It was just so hands-on, so quality. And I thought, I want to help people find great talent. And so that got me into this role. I joined MRI, 16 years ago. I love what I do because I just love helping people, helping the hiring managers find great people because that advances their career, and helping individual contributors, senior engineers and architects advance their careers as well.
Boy, wonderful. Now, when you started 15, 16 years ago, did you start as your own company, or did you work for somebody else to begin with?
I started my own company. I started this practice under the MRI Network umbrella. So I've always been the lead, headhunter. And I've put some resources around in the team to support the process. But yeah, I've always been the hands-on person helping our clients find talent. So yeah, I'm the guy here.
So Karel, what is your specific specialization, or dig as we call it sometimes?
Our focus is strictly around infrastructure professionals at all levels, from top to bottom, leadership, executive leadership, and senior level engineers and architects. And by infrastructure, networks, security and cybersecurity, data center infrastructure, cloud migration. I can throw more words out there because everything's evolving towards automation and AI and virtualization and so forth. But that's the area that we specialize in. And it's hard to find the top performers in those areas. So that's where we focus.
So what do you lay claim with your organization as doing better than your competition?
I think it's the specialization. With my 40 years in the industry, in the last 16 doing this work, having spent years just working with top-notch engineers and architects, it gives me the very strong intuition and understanding of what a top performer looks like and what they bring to the table. So I think the specialization. The other factor is just, I think it's my nature. I'm passionate about what I do. In this business, you have to be persistent. that turns some people off, but you have to be persistent. There's a lot of recruiters that just post something and pray the right person comes along. That doesn't happen. The best people aren't looking at the job boards or answering LinkedIn posts. They're busy doing their thing, and you really have to shake the tree. You have to have a good opportunity to attract that conversation. And so I think it's the persistence, the professionalism that we bring to the process, and the knowledge and expertise in the industry.
Having the knowledge is great. A lot of recruiters will get on the phone with clients and they can talk a great game. What do you bring to your clients? Client calls you, you call them the first time you're having a conversation. What do you say or do that you can stand behind that gets their attention different than everybody else?
A couple of things. One is, I think, our track record of success. So we've got some great references. If someone goes to our website and they hit the testimonial page, they'll see the logos of the companies that we've worked with, leading national and global players, the titles that we've placed. I think that says something about the quality of the candidates that we were able to attract for our clients, and the success in making that happen and getting to the finish line and getting people on board. So I think the track record. I'd say the other thing that I talk to clients about is the process. It's all about the process, the quality of the process. You can throw a lot of work into something, but if it doesn't follow a disciplined process, and frankly, process is important to any profession, whether you're in sales or engineering or recruiting or whatever it is. So I tell my clients, if we're going to take on this search, I need to know as much as I can know about the requirements and what you're looking for at all levels. It's the technical skills, the culture fit, of course, compensation, location, all these things. And I'm going to qualify all individuals against those requirements. And I need to know the must-haves and the nice-to-haves. And on top of that, what I'm going to do when I do the execute a search is I'm going to methodically form a target list of the candidates that we're going to go after. And these are candidates that I would deem as strong players and top performers. And I'm going to reach out to all of them for that search to see what we could do to attract them into a conversation. I think that's the best scenario, is to have a recruiter persistently reach out to the top performers and engage them and attract them with a positive, exciting story about the opportunity. What more can you do? It's a targeted and strategic approach, and I think it yields the best results. I think that resonates well because so many other recruiters take the shortcuts, and we don't take shortcuts.
And you're so right. So many recruiters get a body, they set up interviews. All they're in it for is to get the placement. Clearly, you care more about doing it right to build your brand, that these people come back to you. So we've got the business from the client. How do you cut through the lip service, for a better terminology, from the candidates to get to who they really are, who they're really about, to find that top 10% you're talking about?
Of course, I'm always looking for the rock stars. And for those who know me, they know that I'm a closet guitarist. So that's one of my 6 guitars. And so I look for rock stars, and I try to be the rock star recruiter, if you will. I guess it takes a rock star recruiter to find the rock stars. And there's a couple of things that I do. And one is that I look for examples. I don't want claims. I don't want claims that, oh, yeah, I've got that experience. Oh, I'm really good at that. I dig deeper. Tell me more. Give me examples of where you've done that. That's really important for me to understand. So I think examples are proof. It's showcasing. And then I know that if I put this individual in front of a client, they're going to be able to speak with examples. And that's important because you can't just claim. But I also look for frankly, the people skills. I need people who are team-oriented, consultative, who want to help others, who have a passion for the technology, want to continue to learn. These are the kinds of values that our clients are typically looking for across the board. They want people who are going to fit in and be successful, want to be successful, not hide behind the curtain. There are folks who just want to be in the shadows. I look for people who could get the job done, lead, and really elevate what's happening in their team, their organization. I look for that.
It's been my experience. It's hard to uncover the people that are putting their toes in the water to see what they're worth, and the person that is sincerely wanting to make a change. What kinds of questions do you ask to differentiate between the two?
Yeah, that's a great point, because you could find a great person and they could really check all the boxes. But if that person has no motivation or low motivation to make the move, we're all wasting our time. We're getting to know each other, and this could be a valuable conversation for the future, but it's not going to be for this particular opportunity. So I ask about what we call at MRI the clamps. I want to understand the motivations for making the move. I ask them, so what do you like the most about your current role? Tell me about that. What do you dislike? What could make your career better? Are you getting that at your current company? If you can, then do that. Let's not explore opportunities if you can get what you want where you're at. But if you can't get what you want where you're at, what is it that you want? Maybe I can help with that. Is it compensation? Is it location? Is it stability? Is it advancement to career growth? And there's a number of factors, and I need to know that there's something there that motivates this person to make a move. And I want to make sure that the opportunity will match well with that. That makes it a win.
And that's where I was trying to take this. It's the obvious win for the client or for the candidate, but it's a huge win for the client if we're not bringing them somebody that they fall in love with and we end up wasting their time. And that's the reason that I asked that.
Yeah.
So Karel, where do you see your organization over the next 5 to 10 years?
I'd like to add more contract staffing because it's good for the business. It's not as lumpy a revenue stream. And we have clients that from time to time will ask for those project-oriented people. I'd like to see more of that. And I would say within the next 5 years, I'd like to find a way to transition the business to a new owner. I think I get to a point where I'm thinking, look, I've accomplished what I set out to do. And so I think at some point I would be looking to transition. I haven't figured out all the details behind that, but I think with a good customer base, with a great database of engineers and architects, and if we get a good stream of contract business, then it would be a very valuable addition to another organization.
What kinds of challenges, because you work in an extreme high-tech world, what kind of challenges are you running into with your clients right now that is making it tough for them?
This industry goes through cycles. And as I think all the digs go through the cycles, all the sort of recruiters go through the ups and downs in demand. The challenge right now is really on the demand side, because we've just gone through, we got through COVID and there was some overhiring. Then last year, 2023, there was the economic concerns and issues, interest rates, et cetera, wars around the world. People started to pull back. And then we get to the new year and there's some big tech layoffs. That kind of scares everybody. Hey, big tech's laying off. Why are we hiring people? Why don't we take a breather and see what we really need? And then there's talk about artificial intelligence. Wait a second, artificial intelligence, that means we're going to be out of jobs. We don't need engineers anymore. So I think everyone's taking a step back. So right now, at this moment, I think demand is lower than usual. And we've seen some of these swings happen. Now, having said that, I'm seeing an uptick. So I think that those concerns are subsiding. So my biggest challenge today is really getting the connection with clients. They're being called by a lot of other recruiters, and a lot of these other recruiters are not specializing, so they leave a bad impression. They're not well branded within their industry. And for me to reach out and do to a client, to a prospective client, to prospective clients, certainly they're thinking, oh, another recruiter. I don't want to have that conversation. So I have to break through that. And there I have to communicate crisply about our value proposition, our specialization. All we do is this. We do it really well. And we have a process that yields the top performers. And sometimes they call back months later because they don't need someone now. They need someone in 6 months. That's just the process. That's just the way it works.
Are you finding that same challenge on the candidate side too?
Yes, because I think anytime there's some uncertainty in the market, people say, let me just stay where I'm at. Let me not rock the boat. Let me see how things play out over the next 6 months, and then maybe I'll make a change. And that's a factor. The other thing I would say is that the other trend in IT is that new salaries aren't really going up. They're like flatline. And so that makes it more difficult to attract a candidate when they're thinking, I don't want to do a lateral unless it's solving another problem, right? There may be other issues. So I think that's a factor.
We struggle with that a lot as well. There's such a dynamic change in different environments of our country, cost-wise and economy-wise and so forth. And invariably, it's somebody in a San Francisco marketplace looking for a client or a candidate, and the candidates are mostly in the Midwest. The client doesn't want to have to pay the difference. So we run into a lot of the exact same challenges. What would you tell somebody that wanted to get into the recruiting world today? This is probably, and you've experienced 15, 16 years of this, it was much different back then when you started. We've gone through a lot of hiccups and so forth. What kind of advice would you give somebody wanting to get into this business today, whether it was an owner or just an AE?
Have something you can leverage. You need something you can leverage. Certainly, I think the industry, some industry know-how is important. Whether you come from manufacturing and you can help manufacturing companies hire great people, or you come from technology, or you come from healthcare, whatever that is, bring knowledge you can leverage. I think that helps. There are folks who manage around that, but I think it helps. The other thing is you have to test yourself on your tenaciousness. You have to have the willingness to make it happen no matter what. It's that idea of you get in the boat and you sail off and there's no return. You got to make it happen. And hell or high water, as they say. I think you've got to have the tenaciousness, because it is, there's times when it's very challenging. If the market goes through this dip, you've got to muscle through it. You've got to focus on, let's develop relationships. I may not make placements for some months, but I got to develop those relationships, because when we come out of this, people will need help and they'll know that I'm here for them. And so I think that passion for sticking it out is critical as well. But I would say the outcome for me is just this joy I get out of seeing positive things happen. As hard as it can be at times, it's like, wow, that's wonderful. We solved that problem.
If my math serves me correctly, you opened up your office right in the heart of a tough economic time. I think it was the housing and the banking and all that stuff. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah, so that was a tough time.
I'm appealing to your comment there. You've got to have that tenaciousness, that stick-to-itiveness, that not give up. Because what was going through your head when here you are trying to build at a time when there was not a lot of foundation around? And we're not even talking COVID. We're talking economic, banking, housing, things that were real critical.
I tried to wipe all that from my memory, Vince. So I don't know that I remember much from those days, but let me recall, it was tough times. It was really tough times. And I have to say, sometimes I thought to myself, wow, it happened while I was right after I took the decision. It was bubbling, but it hadn't quite happened until I took the decision. This is what I want to do. And I'm going through the training and I'm reading the front pages every day. And I'm going like, oh man, this is going to be hard. And it was, but here again, I decided, hey, this is it. This is what we're going to make this thing happen. And it's going to be a slow initial run, but I started getting on the phone and calling people and building relationships. And eventually we got our first job order. I remember when we got the first placement, I had to take a picture of that check with my phone and just like, this is the first one. We need more of these. It was troubling times, but fortunately I had the wherewithal to get through that period of time. And then from there, we had great success. And we got some good clients, repeat clients, and great feedback from our approach and the process we used. But that was a tough time. I can't argue that.
And I bring that up because people don't understand. They think when they went through COVID, it was difficult. And it was. I'm not trying to lighten the load. But I am absolutely sure, as tough as it was for you to start your business, you looked at COVID as not the same challenge as everybody else. How did you look at COVID?
I realized and understood and accepted that we just had to muscle through many months of low demand. And we had a few projects here and there, but it was a very tough period. And I just decided that, okay, that's the way it's going to be, but I'm not going to stand still. I'm not going to close the doors. I'm going to keep going, and we're going to focus on continuously building the relationships, staying in touch with people, just letting them know that when things turn around, we're there. And it's important because during that time, when the market goes down, the fake recruiters leave. They go away. And that's good because these are people that are wasting everybody's time. Only the good ones stay. And we stuck it out. And when the demand came back, our clients knew who to call. So it was really, it boiled down to patience. It was frustrating, but you had to have the patience to muscle through it.
And I bring that up for that because you coined tenaciousness. You coined the idea, the no give up. And we get tested. You said it, this is a really tough business, but it's the simplest business in the world when you stop and think of the return on investment. Pick up the phone, talk to people, get them what they need, both sides, candidates, clients, whatever. Yeah, there's going to be hiccups, but boy, this too shall pass. You've experienced that.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you, and you touched on this point of pick up the phone, talk to people, talk to both sides. I think that's probably one of the biggest changes and challenges over the last 16 years. There was a time when, earlier in recruiting where you were using white pages and to call people. Of course, don't do that anymore. And when I joined, it was all about pick up the phone and talk to people because nothing happens unless people are talking. And that's still true. The challenge is 16 years ago, more people picked up the phone more of the time. Now, nobody picks up the phone. And if you leave a message, they might hear it a week from now, a couple of days from now. It's not like it was years ago where people say, oh, I got a message, got to listen to this. So that's a big part of the challenge is that you have to go multi-mode. You have to talk to people on the phone, but to get to them, you have to get really smart on how you combine the phone, the email, the text message, the social media. And it can feel distracting, but when you put the right process in place and the right sequence in place, then you can optimize, you can maximize the effect. And that's what we have to do.
Boy, you couldn't have said that any better. It's technology as a tool. It still starts with the tool called the phone, but the reality is the multiple touches. But what I found, and I'm sure you didn't say it specifically, but I'm sure what you insinuated was the message that you leave has to touch the person that is receiving it. Because if you're leaving the same message over and over again, pretty soon you just sound like a recording. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a different, and that's why technology is a struggle in our business as far as communication, because nobody can feel a text. Nobody can feel an email, but they can feel your voice.
Yeah.
So I applaud that. I really appreciate your energy, the passion and the energy you've got. 16 years in this business, it just grabs me how energized you are, even just talking here.
Thanks, Vince.
What's the root of your motivation?
Family. I think at the end of the day, family, friends, that's what makes me happy is family and friends. And helping people, it goes with that. I think it's all about just doing good things for people. But at the end of the day, the most satisfying thing is family and friends. And if I want to enjoy my time with my family, I have to have a successful profession. Otherwise, I'm stressed all the time. And so I think that's basically, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. That and health, right? Good health, family. If you don't have those things, then life, not so much fun. That's interesting. When I worked in Italy for 5 years, I was really so impressed with the fact that they lived for life. And the Italians always said, living in Rome, you get that the Mediterranean lifestyle. And the Romans would say, oh, you Americans, you just live to work. And I really internalized that and I realized, wow, that is so true. I mean, I'm a workaholic. I can be a workaholic. I work hard. I work all the time. And I started thinking about that notion of, do you live to work or do you work to live? So I put myself in the work to live. I work so that I can enjoy my life and my family and our friends. And that's the kind of relationship I look for.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I fortunately think I can see you're a bit of a workaholic. I can hear it in your voice. But
yeah, it's hard to shake.
that leads me to probably a profound question. What do you do at the end of the day, the end of the week? What do you do to let go?
I like to, just by way of examples, I've always had the hobby of playing the guitar. So I love playing the guitar and learning new things. So that's a hobby. It's fun. But I love taking walks. I love riding the bike. I used to love skiing, but we don't live in Switzerland anymore. We don't go to Colorado that often. So I would say staying active feels good because it keeps me feeling healthy and energized. I love to cook. My wife and I are both cookers. So she cooks beautifully, and I try to follow in her example and do some cooking too. It's just doing those homey things is what I love to do. We're not big TV people. We're often wondering, let's go watch a movie. What movie? We've missed them all. Where do we start? So we just spend time doing stuff, fun stuff, cooking and walking and chatting and those sort of things.
Oh, that's wonderful. Karel, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to come on here and share yourself and open yourself up. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. I so greatly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you again.